Good morning, YouTube, and welcome to technically episode 2 of the cut, but it's going to be episode 3 in this playlist because I've already done like a full day of eating at the start of my cut, and I did the 2-week update this time last week, and now this is 3 weeks and 2 days in technically, but it's a week since the last video. So I'm going to be providing you with an update of how things have been going, and I'm also going to take you through my day as well because I'm going to be training legs today. So I'm going to show you what that looks like and also show you how I'm progressing with trying to squat 140 kilos. So that is what is still to come, but to start with, just for a quick summary of my day, as I say, I woke up this morning and I was happy with how I was looking. I think that I've seen like a little bit of like water drop off and stuff like that. I feel quite visibly tighter, and I was certainly happier with how I've been looking. And I also woke up a kilo down from where I was this time last week. So I'm now 77.25 kilos as opposed to 78.25 kilos, which I was last week. Gone and got my steps done. I've also had my overnight oats for breakfast as per usual as well. And I'm just gonna pick you up somewhere because my arm's hurting already. How pathetic. I can lift all these weights and I can't hold like a 500-gram phone for more than a minute. So, as mentioned, I can see him here and you can sort of see him in the corner of the screen as well. I will show you the visual differences from 3 weeks ago when I first started my cut to now. And we can see that things are certainly starting to come in. So, as I mentioned last week, I know I mentioned that it does take a time for the visual differences to occur, especially obviously if you've got more fat to lose. However, because I sort of started in a position that I didn't have a ton of fat to lose necessarily, I think I probably have around about sort of 10 kilos to lose, as opposed to, let's say, like 20, 30 kilos or something like that. I can see that things are coming in a lot more, and ultimately I've been a little bit hungrier the last few days and things have been a little bit tougher in general, but seeing those visual differences make everything more worthwhile in many ways. And one thing, I know I literally just put you down, but I'm picking you back up again. One thing that I wanted to sort of show you through was my tracker briefly, and also show you through something that is really useful because I use the same tracker. As you can see here, I use the same tracker as I use with all of my clients. And so I'm not going to go through like all of this in detail for like the last few weeks because I don't really want to bore you. As you can see, I monitor like my nutrition, my steps, if I train, my soreness and stuff like that. I tailor all of these for my clients as well. So each of my clients will have pretty much sort of similar things in regards to like protein, calories and like training and stuff. But I actually can like completely customize this depending on what's needed. Please just ignore me over there. But one of the most useful things that I have within here, without a doubt, is like this roadmap section. So I'm still using the same sheet as I was using prior to going to Thailand, as you can see here, when I was like going from a muscle building phase, and now I'm going through a fat loss phase. And what you can see, if I just go a bit closer, you can see that I am, so as like a non-negotiable, I am planning on losing fat until the end of February. This week here is like my birthday week, so I'm planning on having that as a bit of maintenance. And then depending on how things are going, I'm probably gonna have a little bit more fat loss here, before then potentially going for like muscle building prior to the summer arriving. But the reason that this is so useful, and this is something that I would highly recommend that you do yourself, is because like the last thing that you want when you're dieting is to just feel like you're going to be sort of like indefinitely dieting. You want to sort of break it down into phases. And what I find for like my clients and like myself in general, if I didn't have this laid out and I was just thinking to myself, I'm going to be indefinitely dieting, you inevitably start thinking to yourself like, right, well, if I'm going to be dieting basically for what feels like forever, it doesn't really matter if I break my diet today because I can just add another week onto my diet. Whereas with this, I'm working towards like a specific time frame. Like by the time that I'm getting towards sort of like the end of February, I want to be sort of towards the low end of the 70 kilo mark. And like I've got some urgency behind it, and approaching things in phases, as I say, and knowing like, say potentially like you've got like a holiday coming up or something like that, and you're working towards that, but in chunks, it makes it so much easier. This is what I do with like all of my clients. I make sure that we approach everything in like phases so they know exactly what they're working towards. Some people is a lot more laid out based upon sort of like if they don't find it sort of too overwhelming, but some people it's sort of a bit more of a short-term basis. But things like this, if you don't necessarily need to have exactly this, but having a good idea of like when your diet is going to end and everything like that, as I say, is just massively beneficial. I need to go and do a little bit more work before going to the gym, so I'm going to be doing that, and then I will catch you. I'm going to give you a little bit of a gym fit today, then we're going to go to the gym together. I'll show you through the posing room side of things, and as I say, I'll take you through the rest of my day after that point in time as well. I have just tactically come downstairs to eat my cream of rice because it's going to be sort of about an hour or so until I go and train. And I was feeling particularly hungry. I want to give myself enough time to digest it prior to training legs. And whilst most days I would normally train a little bit earlier, and normally I'd only have one meal beforehand, but because I'm training a little bit later, and also because it's legs, I can feel that I was getting hungry. And the last thing that I'd want to be for that session is hungry. So I've had my cream of rice. Erin, the other day, made the nicest cream of rice I've ever had. And one way to know that you are on a diet is food just starts tasting so much better. That cream of rice, when I'm in a gaining phase and trying to gain muscle and having cream of rice, I absolutely hate it. Like, it's just something that I have because, like, basically just for the macros really, and also just to help me sort of train. Erin made it the other day, it was banging, and also like now it's just so much nicer. Whilst doing this video, I'm also doing my steps around the kitchen, sort of multitask things. I always, whenever I'm cooking or anything, I will always do steps around the kitchen table. Now I am fortunate because I live with my parents, and they have a big kitchen, so I can do this. But if you're on a diet and you're ever like, oh, how can I get some more steps in? Just pair it with things that you already do. And it's genuinely like a game changer. Like, I get so many steps in over the course of the day by doing this whilst I'm like cooking and stuff like that. But I've still got like a little bit of work to do, but I need to show you the gym fit as mentioned, so I will do that now. I honestly have no idea how on earth people do this sort of stuff. Like, I can't really find the angle to show you this properly, but I am wearing, so Vanquish is by far my favorite gym brand at this moment in time. Like Gymshark and Able I don't really like, because I find like, I don't really know obviously all the influencers and stuff, but just like the way that they do all their influencer marketing and the people that like I associate who wear that sort of stuff, I don't know, I just don't really, I just don't quite align with it. So I prefer Vanquish. I think that Vanquish, and I also like that it says like better than yesterday is like its whole thing. I think that's quite a nice sort of like mindset. I've also got the Uniqlo joggers on. Now these are oversized. Fuck, I can't get my leg up that high. Right, let me try this way. Can you see they're oversized? The whole reason, like pretty much everything that I wear is oversized. So I always feel like I do myself sort of a bit of a disservice, because I never like to have things sort of too tight. Like I also look a little bit scraggly as well, because I always have things a little bit too big. But I just prefer it because, I don't know, I don't like to sort of seem like I'm sort of like trying to draw attention to myself or whatever. And I just find them much more comfortable. So like even with this top, I think I went like a size up from what I actually need. And then I've also got my Gymshark shorts on underneath, because where I work out at Pro Strength, it's literally like a warehouse, and it is fucking freezing cold in the winter. So I normally wear this until I'm like nice and warm, like my joggers, and then I will take them off, put my shorts on. And then I've also got my trusty Air Maxes. I wear these for literally every single gym session, just because I can sort of beat them up. They're old, I don't really care about them too much. And then also for like most things, they're sort of quite a stable base. Like even though they've got like the air pocket, you can really press into the floor with them. And that's something that's quite good. Like when people are like wearing like running shoes and stuff like that and lifting in the gym, you do lose a little bit of stability from that. But with this, they're quite good. But anyway, that is the gym fit side of things. I'm also going to wear a jumper as well, because as I say, it's freezing cold in there. And the next time I see you, I will be at the gym. So I am at the gym. I popped a lovely white monster at about 2 o'clock, which is running like, it's cutting it a bit fine for the cut off of when I'd normally finish having caffeine. But I have gone and done hack squat calf raises. I've also done lying hamstring curls, and then I've also done leg extensions. Normally, I'm just about to do barbell squats, and normally I would do the calves first because I need to work on them. If I don't work on them first, I would just skip them. And then I also do the hamstrings to get the knees nice and warm, but I normally do squats third. So I'm a little bit more pre-exhausted what I normally would be. And last week I managed 120 for 5, and I'm trying to beat that this week basically. I find with squatting at the moment, my issue isn't necessarily like the weight. It's more just sort of becoming fluid with the movement, and also my wrist position. One of my shoulders I really struggle with retracting, but I'm going to try and get to at least 120, if not a little bit more today. I'd like to go for like 130 if possible, but we'll see what's what. Oh, and I also forgot to mention for squats, I always like to listen to like, I like a barbell squat because it's just like a raw movement. So I listen to a bit of like TNT and like AC/DC and stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to be listening to whilst doing the sets, and we'll see what happens. What a humongous ick
AC/DC to not even be able to squat 120 for more than 4. No, for more than 3 even. Other than that, other than the squats, which went terribly, the whole session overall was like really solid. But when I went and did the squats, what I found, I'll sort of attach the video now. What I found is when I was doing 120, the bar was a tiny little bit bent. So every time that I was coming up, you could see that the bar was like rotating backwards. Like as I'm coming up, the bar's rotating like backwards and down, and it was really like setting me off balance. So that was quite annoying. Did not quite go to plan, but other than that, as I say, the session was all good. I was stronger on like literally everything, and considering I'm on week 4 of the training block and 3 weeks into a solid deficit, lost 3 kilos, I'm not too upset with how that went. Squats are just fucking hard to progress at the moment, but everything else is all fine. I've got 4,000 steps to do, so I'm going to do those, do a little bit of Duolingo as normal, and then show you how things are looking with me being a kilo down from last week, and then we'll continue through the day. Now, the vast majority of my steps are done. I am still going to have to do some later on in the day. I'm absolutely starving at the moment. I haven't really eaten that many calories. It's sort of 4:15 now. Need to get home and eat my next meal, which is going to be turkey mince. I much prefer the chicken mince because the turkey mince gets really, really dry, but they didn't have any in Lidl yesterday. So it's going to be turkey mince. I can certainly see that things are starting to sort of get a little bit tighter, as mentioned. Like, I can see that, say, for example, like with I'm trying to show you, but the fucking shadow's in the way. I can see that like with my core, it's a little bit more defined than it was. My lower back has still got a decent amount of fat on it. As you can see here, like I've sort of still got love handles. For me, typically, I know that this is sort of like the last area to sort of start coming in. And like, that's the thing with sort of like more stubborn areas of fat. You've got to consider that the reason that you sort of store the most there, and like they are the most sort of stubborn areas, is because you basically have the most, and it's sort of like the last thing to come off. So like I'll be losing fat. Obviously you lose fat from your whole entire body. Over time, as I say, it will reduce down, but it's just a case that normally those stubborn areas are sort of like the last ones that you start noticing really, really coming in. At this moment in time, I would consider that I'm sort of in this position that I like to call sort of like no man's land with my physique. So I'm not really like, I'm obviously not lean, but I'm also not big. And also with my sessions, because of not really having too many carbs at the moment in comparison to like when I'm sort of bulking up, I find that I am quite flat, like I don't really get too much of a pump and stuff. And it is a little bit of like a shit part of the process. Unfortunately, it is just part of the process. Like generally speaking, my sessions still feel quite good. But like, say like getting a pump and feeling like nice and like juicy and big, which is like one of the main things that I like working out for, doesn't really exist at this moment in time. But as I say, things are certainly moving in the right direction. We can see that weight's moving in the right direction. I can see that waist measurements are moving in the right direction. And I can see that, like, for example, I don't really know if you can see it there, but like I've not got any pump at the moment or anything like that. And I can see a little bit of a resemblance of a vein there, which was not there at all a couple of weeks ago. So certainly moving in the right direction. But now I need to get home and eat this meal because I am extremely hungry. Hello, it is nearly 8 o'clock. I think Arsenal are playing in the Champions League tonight against like Karat or something. I literally have no idea how you pronounce it. But instead of watching that, I'm going to be getting even more steps in. I only have to do 8k steps at the moment, but because of like working from home, I don't really do steps throughout the day. I have to go and make like a conscious effort to go and get them in. And this sort of leads me on to one of the things that like I think is just so beneficial when you are on a diet, and it is just your ability to like delay gratification as much as possible. Whether that's from doing more steps, like when you can't really be asked, because I'd much rather just be at home doing fuck all and watching the football or whatever, or from like a food side of things, like tonight for example, I don't know, like let's say that I fancy something chocolatey or something. Right, you just can't see me right now. Just think about like the future version of you. What would the future version of you want you to do instead of the version of you right now? Because inevitably the version of you is going to want that sweet treat. It's sort of like if you invest in the stock market or something like that, like you're investing your money now for the future version of you. And it's literally the exact same with like your physique. Like everything that you do now pays dividends in future. Still can't see me whatsoever. But I need to go to Lidl to go and get my last meal of the day, and then I'll talk you through my last meal and also what
I've got in store this evening. Apologies for it being a little bit dark then. Swindon's finest are out and about, and I always feel a bit awkward because this obviously has like a blue light on it, right? And the last thing that I want is just for some teenage kids to be coming up to me like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, you're doing a YouTube video. Something ridiculous like that. So I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna walk the dark way and then you can fucking see me. Currently watching the Arsenal game. I think I forgot to say that I have already had, so I went and had like my turkey mince, I had a little bit of Nando's seasoning on it, I had my golden vegetable rice, and I also had some broccoli. So that was previously. I'm about to go and have my steak. I've got a rump steak. I've also got another bag of golden vegetable rice, just like my favorite rice to have, just so easy to whack in the microwave. Also gonna have some mushrooms and some sweet corn as well. And I'm probably gonna be eating probably around about sort of like 10 to 9 or 9 o'clock-ish. And the whole reason for this is because the last thing that I want to be doing is going to bed hungry. And as I mentioned, I always delay my breakfast because I'm much hungrier towards the end of the day. And I typically am eating sort of like, as I say, anywhere between sort of like 8 to 9 on a normal basis now. Whilst I sort out all of my oats, stuff that I need for my oats, one thing that I also think is really useful is I find that I'm able to be really, really adherent to my diet, even on the weekends. And I used to really struggle with my like adherence to my diet on the weekend, because what I would do is like Monday through to Friday, I would eat really, really clean. Then I'd get to the weekend and I just like would be fed up with the things that I've been eating and then go off like plan and end up doing tons of damage. And it's something that like a lot of people just struggle with in general. And what I would say is just so useful is like, pretty much every meal, as I mentioned, like my turkey mince, I'm not the most biggest fan of in the whole wide world, but every other meal that I've had throughout today, I really, really enjoy. And like when you're dieting, I think a lot of people, the problem that they have is they go from eating like all of these nice, tasty and like palatable foods to then eating something that's like plain chicken breast with some salad. And obviously you hate it. So one of the most important things to do when dieting is like learn meals that you like and you actually enjoy having and like look forward to having, because it makes the dieting process so much easier. And like things like this steak, I will normally have like chicken and rice and mince or whatever for most meals throughout the week, and then I have some of these things like here that feel like a treat. So I have like, say, like a lamb steak or just like a beef steak. I also have salmon, some other form of fish like it throughout the week, and that's sort of like my, say, like treat meals. I know it sounds boring, but when you're dieting, things like that, and like they just feel like a little bit of a break in the diet, but they're like something that is still on the diet, it's genuinely so useful. A bit of an interesting angle. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to try and make my overnight oats. The plan of action, the whole reason I'm wearing the Arsenal top is obviously because the boys are playing tonight. I wear the Arsenal top and it means that they're going to win, even though I did that at the weekend. When we were playing against United, I wore my white one, which is like the nicest Arsenal kit I think they've ever done. And we lost 3-2 and I was absolutely fuming. So obviously doesn't exactly work like that. Tonight, I am going to be watching, I'm going to be watching the football on my laptop, and then I will probably put Love Island All Stars on ITV. I don't know if any of you are watching Love Island at the moment. Love Island All Stars at the moment, I think like most of them aren't All Stars because I barely know who they are. I do not like Scott basically picking on Sean. Erin fancies Scott, so she thinks that Scott can't do anything wrong. I think that Scott just does seem to pick on Sean a little bit. And I think that even if, because Erin says, well, Sean was a prick on his season or something, and I really can't remember. But even if he was, like, I don't think that's really like excusable to then basically pick on him the whole time, because like people can change. Maybe he's different now. I mean, you never know. Anyway, oh my God. Victor Gyökeres has just missed from about 6 centimeters out. I have no idea how on earth he's done that. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you found the video useful as always. And there was some value in there for you. I'm very happy with how the mini cut is going. How the cut is going even at this moment in time. I think by the time that I get to the end of February, I'll be in a really, really good spot. And obviously I'm going to continue taking you through the process. So make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're interested in working with me as well, feel free to just reach out to me on Instagram. There will also be a couple of links in the description. So one of them will be a guide to help you finally see the progress that you're after in the gym. And then another one will also be a free coaching process that you can follow, where I'll give you like calories and macros and everything like that. And all you need to do is follow it, and you can access both of those via the links in the description. But thank you very much for watching, and adios, and hasta luego.